Hello, everybody. Welcome to Art Show. I'm your host, Craig Stover, and today I have with me JOMBI Superstar. JOMBI, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here. I think first, to help those people who are unfamiliar with you, I'm going to share some pictures of yours. So let's just get right to it. So while we're looking at these different pictures, let me ask you my first question. What does making art do for you?
Well, that's a very interesting question. I It's very liberating. It feels really good to create something out of nothing and to add your own sense of personality to it. Um, I guess for me, I suppose it's a form of meditation. I guess.
Yeah, for a lot of artists, I think it's like that. Do you find it if you don't do it, how does it make you feel if you aren't making art?
Yeah, I feel like there's something sort of missing, I guess. It's something I so much enjoy what I do that it doesn't become something that it doesn't become a bother. It's just something that I love to do.
Mm-hmm. So these pictures that we're looking at, I love this one, by the way. I think the colors of this are just fantastic. What's the
Okay.
scale of these?
I would say like 36 by 24, something like that.
Okay, and these are all on paper.
Some of them are.
Okay,
Some of them are on canvas, but most of them are on paper.
nice. This one is a very stark picture. I really like this one. It's just this, it's sort of simplicity. Let me ask you, where do these figures that you make come from? Can you answer
Um,
that?
yeah. Well, I'm kind of impressed with like art from Africa,
Okay.
West African sculpture. Um, and most of in a way, a lot of my imagery is kind of like hieroglyphics, sort of. Uh, the
Okay.
way the way some of the sculptures that you would see on Egyptian temple walls, but
Mhm.
I just sort of have it's sort of like my spin on it.
Okay. Do the figures have any sort of meanings to them, or are they more of just a free
I guess
flow kind of?
they can mean whatever they want to you. There's sort of something right out of my head, my dreams, or they're kind of like any kind of shape or
Mhm.
size or dimension. But uh, okay. Well, first of all, I have no formal art education, so most of my whatever I do comes from like my head, like
Your
my own experience,
imagination? Would you
my own
would you call it
imagination.
your imagination?
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, definitely.
And it just does it just flow out of you?
It just sort of comes out of me somehow. I don't really, and the other thing is that I don't really have a particular subject
Hmm.
or it's just something that just sort of like flows out of my head,
Hmm.
and it can be any sort of thing.
Hmm.
Uh,
Well,
Spirituality, something primordial, like from
right.
the like another dimension, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I like the variety of works that you have. I mean, you do populate your field with a lot of these figures, but each piece you do has such a different feel to
Well,
it.
I usually, it's kind of like what it is that they're the same thing, just a
Hmm.
variation. I mean, I use. I mean, it's kind of like an alphabet. Like I have a certain set of alphabets that I use, and I use them in various combinations,
Hmm.
and that's pretty much how I go. I mean, it's pretty simple in how I approach it in a way, but I always use the same images, but they're just
Hmm.
variations
Well,
of
I've
the
seen
same
them.
thing.
I've seen your images sort of morph over the years. I've been privy to watching you. So you have certain characters that seem to reoccur sometimes, but you often add new ones. So really, my next question is how long have you been making art?
Maybe 30 years.
30 years.
Yeah.
What 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 was your first reason for making art?
Um,
That's a
wow,
tough question, I guess. I mean, you might not remember, but like, did did you just one day like I'm gonna start making art, or did it like sort of slowly evolve into the fact you
I
became an
think it's something that slowly evolved. Well, I kind of always did it, but I
artist?
didn't really take myself seriously until
Mhm,
maybe 30 years ago, something like that.
mhm, okay.
And then it became something that I just did. Like, I mean, I always had, I mean, I was never able to support myself by what I made, but it was something that I always did.
Mhm.
And I decided that, at that point, that that was going to be my main focus, and it has. I mean, over the years, I've done other things, but I've always come back to that.
Hmm. Well, can you remember like your first exposure to art? Like, were you
I
a little
remember very
kid? Did you
clearly.
get it?
I remember
Tell me
very
that
clearly.
story.
I was 12 years old,
Uh-huh.
and my father took me to the Museum of Modern Art. I mean, the art museum. Excuse me, the art
Okay.
museum in Philadelphia,
Okay.
and I went to see a Edouard Monet retrospective at the art museum.
Nice.
And, at 12 years old, I was like, you can make beautiful things. You can have a life by making beautiful things.
Hmm.
And but that's what I said to myself.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was a totally impractical occupation
Right.
as far as my father was concerned. It was practical about it, but it was something that I loved, and it just changed my life when I saw that exhibition.
Well, the
And
Monet for me is there's so much color in
yeah,
Monet.
Edouard, I never forgot it, Edouard
Yeah.
Monet. And it was a woman I met. I remember meeting a woman at this and she was an older woman. She's long gone by now because I'm old myself.
Hmm.
So she asked me what was the most amazing, most beautiful work of art I've ever seen. And as a child, I didn't know how to answer a question like that. And
Hmm.
so I said to her, I really don't know. And
Hmm.
she told me being a human being. And that
Hmm.
always stayed.
Yeah, I can see where that would sort of click. For me, with Monet, his color is so prevalent, and I can see now, looking at your work, that color is extremely important. So, let's talk color. Tell me,
Okay.
tell me what you think about color.
Um, well, first of all, like I think, you know, art to me should be something that provokes you in some kind of way, and how good or bad, but it elicits some kind of emotion out of you. And the colors that I use um, are emotional kind of colors. Very passion. You know, they speak passion. They speak uh, movement.
Hmm.
Uh, that sort of thing.
I hear this same sort of language with a lot of artists, how color, it can promote certain things, but they can use it for emotion and they can use it for drama, and it's got a lot of power in it, a lot of oomph. But not all artists use it as you do.
Well, I guess that can be said about anybody, really.
Yeah, it's true. So so with your potent, you've got some potent colors. Even what's behind you, I can clearly see it. But tell me about the mediums that you work with. So I see you. Maybe I'm wrong. Think you tend to work a lot with papers.
uh,
Or
well,
whatever.
now I do.
Hmm.
Now, I work on, I do work on canvas. I mean, I used to a lot, but part of the reason why I use paper is because people gave me all this paper.
Right. Mother of
One
invention.
friend has she had access to all this really good paper, and she wanted to know if I wanted it. And I said, well, yeah, I'll take it. So I mean, it was quality stuff,
Hmm.
and so I just said, and my work has improved with the quality of the materials I've been using.
Yeah. Yeah.
It sort of lends itself to, like, you step it up a bit.
I've
You know,
seen early pieces of yours done on like the backs of flyers, and
Yeah, yeah.
coupons and stuff.
Right,
So
right, right. Yeah,
I
I've done
love the
that.
fact that you have all of that in your oeuvre, that you've started out this way, but you've elevated to some finer
I've
materials.
elevated. Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, that's probably because of the materials I was getting. Because I mean, I will use whatever I got,
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's like a lot of artists. Do you regularly go to like art shows or museums? Is that part of
um,
your routine?
I not so much anymore, but I like to. I like going to shows. I like
Mhm.
seeing what other people are doing.
Did you draw inspiration from them, or is it that
Um,
has nothing to do with it?
well, yeah, yeah. I mean, like, well, I learned from a man who's a long time ago about how to look at art or how to look at something, how to look at something,
Mhm.
and um, and I try to find one thing in something that I'm looking at that I actually like.
Mhm. Mhm.
I mean, I like the subject. I mean, I even like the colors, but maybe I might like the way it's positioned.
Mhm.
I like the color, or I might like what is the subject matter. That could be interesting. I try to find something, even if it's something I'm not even interested in. I try to find something because that's how I mean I was introduced to looking at things that
Mhm.
way. I mean, I didn't always see it like that. I used to like
Mhm.
see stuff that I didn't like and just dismiss it out of point of fact, like I don't like this, and leave it at that. But then I just started to look at like maybe there's something there's like my friend told me, find one thing that you like.
Mhm. Mhm.
So so I started to look at things differently that way.
Mhm. I myself, I do something very similar, but I like to steal one thing, find something that I really like, and then try to reproduce that somewhere in my own work. So
I think a lot of artists do that.
yeah.
I mean, we'll find something in someone else's work that you get inspired from,
Mhm.
and you take that. I mean, like that's not unusual at all.
Do you have a current artists that you're sort of really looking at, not necessarily living, but maybe within art history? Are there go-to artists for you that you would always just love looking at,
Oh
drawing
yes, definitely.
inspiration from? Who
Yeah.
who who are we talking?
Uh, well, Jean-Michel Basquiat, of course.
Mhm.
Um, um, there's a woman artist. I'm trying to think of her name. Oh my God, I didn't expect this question,
Senioritis, right? I put you on
but
the spot.
I haven't seen your mom right. Um, there's this one artist that I've been looking at a lot, and I think his work is brilliant. It's Dietmar Boos,
Hmm.
and he lives in New York. I
Okay.
had to meet him when I went to a closing of his show. I
Right,
thought
you
he was
shared with me his work. His work was stunning. Yeah.
yeah, I love his work. And he's an amazing person too. I thought I was very impressed by him. Um let me hmm.
You can send me a list.
Yeah, okay, all right.
So what do you
But
what do you currently?
there's a bunch,
Yeah.
I like Hans Holbein,
Oh yeah.
from the Tudor
Uh-huh.
period. Love
Right.
his work. I
Color and
this
brushwork is great.
his yeah, brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are you currently working on in your studio?
Um
Are you making new work currently?
working on something.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, there's a few things I'm working on.
Your work seems to be getting a little bit larger. I've seen larger and larger pieces.
Well, I was afraid. I was constrained by size for a long
Hmm.
time,
Hmm.
and one of my friends was telling me was encouraging me to like really explore large and
Hmm.
do big stuff. And I did a few large things. It took me more time because I like things right away.
Right,
But
right.
I wanted to like finish right away. And sometimes it take it to take your time to like do certain things in a particular period of time. The result is so much more beautiful, even though it takes longer. But I'm enjoying that process.
Yeah.
Process.
Well, I look forward to seeing it. We actually have time for just one more question, and this is a question
Wow, that was fast.
I know it goes by quick. So this is a question I love asking artists because it's just so different. Do you know if you have any studio rituals that you do? And here's what I mean. Like when you're going to make a work of art, are there things that you have to do or things that you have to set up in order to
Really want to know?
well, you can tell me whatever you want. So,
Okay.
I have an artist who I spoke with just last month, and she said, "Oh, I have a glass of chamomile tea and a watercress sandwich," and then she turns on classical music, kind of a thing. Do you need silence? Does it have to be during the day or the night? So what's
It could be any time during the day. I mean that I'm free.
Mhm.
Um, I'll probably burn some incense or some sage.
Mhm.
Um, I have some water or some juice or tea.
Mhm.
Um, I'll smoke a joint
Mhm.
and I'll put some like jazz or classical music on, something like that.
Jazz or classical? Okay.
Yeah.
Any particular jazz?
Um, Thelonious Monk, John
Nice.
Coltrane,
Uh-huh.
Lincoln, Ruston
Representing
Rolling.
Philly. I got you.
You
Well, that's fantastic. Well, I want to thank you for coming by. I know it was really brief today, but it was a pleasure speaking with you. And
know,
for those of
thank
you
I,
who are learning about Jambi for the first time, you can find him. Just do a web search for Jambi Superstar. He's on some social media and hopefully a new website soon. I'm hoping.
yes, very
Uh,
soon. Yeah.
yes, but definitely on social media. And he'll have some contact information too on those sites. So I want to thank you again for tuning in, and please make sure to subscribe to ArtShow. I've got some more fantastic artists coming up. And again,
Thanks so
thank you, Jambi Superstar. Have a great time.